China was publicly calling for peace between Iran and the US. Also, it was privately preparing a weapons shipment for Iran, secretly routed through other countries so nobody could trace it, timed perfectly during the ceasefire when the world was distracted, designed so China could deny everything if it ever came out. It came out. And now Trump is threatening consequences, Iran is using the ceasefire to rearm, Russia is already helping Iran target American forces behind the scenes, and the world is sitting on top of a situation that is a lot more dangerous than anyone wants to admit. So here's what happened. A few days ago, America and Iran agreed to a ceasefire, and China, in front of the entire world, took partial credit for making that ceasefire happen. They stood up and said, "We helped stop this war. We are the peacemakers." The world clapped. Middle Eastern countries trusted them more. And then, American intelligence found out that at the exact same moment China was calling itself a peacemaker, it was secretly loading weapons onto a shipment headed for Iran. Let that sit for a second. The ceasefire is not even a week old. It is fragile. One wrong move and the whole war starts again. Millions of people are depending on this peace holding together, and China is smuggling weapons to one side of that war. Right now, as we speak.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, weapons. Countries send weapons to other countries all the time. How bad can it be? Let me explain exactly what these weapons are, because once you understand, it changes everything. They are called MANPADS. Forget the name. Here is what they actually do. One person, one shoulder, one trigger, and they can shoot down a fighter jet. That is it. That simple. That dangerous. You do not need an army to use these. You do not need a military base. You do not need training for years. One person standing in a field can take down a multi-million-dollar warplane with this thing. And here's where it gets genuinely chilling. Just last week, an American F-15 was shot down over Iran, one of the most advanced fighter jets ever built. Gone. Just like that. Trump was asked about it, and he said, and I am paraphrasing, it was brought down by a handheld shoulder missile, a heat-seeking missile. Iran said they used a new system. They wouldn't say what it was. Now we find out China was preparing to send exactly that kind of weapon to Iran. You do the math. Okay, so China is sending weapons to Iran. That alone is massive news. But the way they are doing it, that is what makes this story absolutely wild. According to the intelligence sources, China is not sending these weapons directly. They are routing the shipment through other countries, third parties, middlemen, so that when the weapons show up in Iran, nobody can officially trace them back to China. Think about what that means. China is not just arming Iran. China is building a cover story while arming Iran. They are creating fake trails, disguising the origin, making it look like the weapons came from somewhere else so they can stand in front of cameras later, like they already did, and say, "We never did this. These are baseless allegations." And here's the quote they actually gave CNN when asked about it directly. The Chinese embassy in Washington said, "China has never provided weapons to any party to the conflict. The information is untrue." Clean, confident, straight denial. Except American intelligence has 3 separate sources saying otherwise. This is not he said, she said. This is the most sophisticated intelligence apparatus on planet Earth saying, "We caught you. We know what you're doing. We know the route. We know the weapons. We know."
Now, obviously, someone told Trump, and a reporter caught him leaving the White House and asked him about it. And Trump said, and this is a direct quote, "If China does that, China will have big problems, okay?" That is Trump language for this is serious, this is a threat, and I mean it. Because think about the position this puts Trump in. He is literally scheduled to fly to China next month, sit down with Xi Jinping face-to-face, have major diplomatic talks, The whole trip is supposed to be about calming tensions between the two biggest superpowers on Earth. And right before that meeting, China is caught secretly arming America's enemy. How do you walk into that room? How does that conversation go? What does Trump say to Xi? What does Xi say back? Because whatever they say publicly, both of them know exactly what just happened. Okay, so now let's get into the most important part, because a lot of people watching this are probably thinking, why would China do something this risky? This seems crazy. They are about to meet Trump. They just took credit for the ceasefire. Why risk everything? Here is the answer, and it is actually very simple once you see it. Iran sells China most of its oil. That is it. That is the core of it. Iran and China have a deep economic relationship. China needs Iranian oil to keep its economy running, and Iran, after years of American sanctions, needs China to survive. They are financially locked together. So when America went to war with Iran, China did not see an enemy being punished. China saw its oil supply being threatened. But here is the genius and the danger of what China is doing. It is not openly defending Iran. It is not sending soldiers. It is not declaring anything. Because one intelligence source said it perfectly, China sees no real strategic value in openly entering this conflict. They know they cannot win a direct military confrontation with America, so they are not doing that. Instead, they are feeding Iran just enough weapons to survive, to resist, to keep the pressure on America, to make the war drag on longer.
Here is something that most news channels are not connecting, but you need to hear. China is not the first one doing this. Russia already is. According to the same intelligence sources, Russia has been quietly providing Iran with intelligence throughout this entire war. Real-time information. Data that helped Iran figure out where American military assets were, where the planes were coming from, where the weak points were. Russia has been helping Iran target American troops and equipment this whole time. And now China is about to layer weapons on top of that. So let's be very clear about what is happening here. America is fighting Iran, but behind Iran, feeding it, arming it, informing it, are the two largest military rivals America has on the entire planet. This is not just a war with Iran anymore. This is starting to look like something much bigger. Okay, so here is the scenario that should genuinely worry you. Right now, the ceasefire is holding. Barely, but holding. Now, imagine the war starts again. And this time, Iranian soldiers are standing in the mountains of Iran holding Chinese shoulder-fired missiles that can shoot down American aircraft. Every low-flying American jet, every military helicopter, every drone flying at a certain altitude suddenly becomes a target for a weapon that one person can hide in a backpack. The casualty numbers change overnight. The war becomes harder, longer, more expensive, more deadly. And China gets exactly what it wants. America stuck in another Middle East nightmare while China sits back, watches, and quietly takes over the rest of the world's relationships. This is the game, and most people do not even realize it is being played. Now, I want to zoom out because this story does not exist in isolation. It is one piece of a much larger picture. China has been caught preparing weapons for Iran while publicly claiming to be a peacemaker. Russia is already feeding Iran intelligence to help it target American forces. Trump is threatening consequences. China is denying everything. And the world is watching a chess game that most people don't even know is happening. Here is the question I want to leave you with, and I want you to actually think about it, not just scroll past it. If China is willing to do this, secretly arm an enemy of America during a fragile ceasefire, what else is China willing to do? How far does this go? How deep does it run? And how many other things are happening right now behind closed doors that we don't know about yet? Because if history has taught us anything, by the time the public finds out what is really going on, the people in power already knew a long time ago, and they are already playing the next move.